So with the live letter recently ending, we got some brief and very vague tank updates, which are probably worth going over or just sharing my overall thoughts on it. If you've seen the text, you'll know that Dark Knight is getting a little bit of a buff, Paladin's getting a bit of a nerf, and Warrior's getting a bit of a buff. I'll paste the information in this slide. So this is pretty sweet in general because as someone who was playing Paladin earlier in the patch, before joining an array group and clearing Neo, I gotta say Paladin's pretty fun to play, but it is extremely simple to play. It's on a very, on rails rotation in terms of stuff lining up with each other, which is fine. The only problem was Paladin could do the same DPS as a really good warrior, and this is evident in FF logs and in raids in general. You know, with warrior, you had your 2-minute kind of rotation, you had your mini inner release window, and then you had Berserk on its own, and it was, if you messed up at all, you messed up your rotation or you're slightly off on something, you would have lost a shit ton of DPS. So it's really nice to have that change being done. The specific information on the change is that beast gauge management will be simplified. Storm's Eye will get nerfed and scaled back, but the rest of the warrior's toolkit will be buffed. So overall, they're looking at a DPS gain. Inner release and Berserk is going to get changed. I assume that they're either going to buff Berserk or give it more of a time. And with inner release, I assume that's a tough one. They'll either shorten the cooldown or they will do something. I like inner release in its current form, but if they shorten the cooldown, that would be pretty sweet. It's going to change up the warrior rotation quite a bit, because we all know you have the 5 fell cleaves, and then you have the openers, the different types of openers you can do with inner release, and getting your upheavals in, and your double onslaught, single onslaught. So I guess overall the warrior rotation is going to get quite simple, which is good. In all honesty, as someone who's kind of done the rotation in different fights and cleared most, back when I was raiding, cleared most of the content, the warrior rotation, it was a pain in the ass in certain areas. You know, you had to squeeze in and then a release as mechanics were happening, and Paladin was just kind of chilling there, doing what they want really. So warriors having a bit of an easier rotation and more DPS is a great thing, and it's been needed for a whole patch. It's just a shame that when something is wrong with a tank class, they wait until the next patch to fix it. You know, we have to go months and months playing with meh designs, you could say. I don't know what they'll do with Paladin. I assume because Paladin's rotation is quite fun to play, I assume they'll simply do nerfs to Holy Spirit, and maybe some potency nerfs around the board, because Paladins, they have too much utility. Dark Knight, not too familiar with Dark Knight, but bringing them back into the mix would be pretty sweet as well. My thoughts with Warrior in a bit more detail. Let's see. I kind of hope that they change Shake It Off, because Warriors having Shake It Off seems like a band-aid. Giving mitigation to the team based on what cooldowns you're using. It's kind of just like a mini Divine Veil, but with individual buffs, and it has some skill shots to it in sacrificing cooldowns to get higher mitigation. But I just kind of wish that Shake It Off was something a bit more, something more in line with the Warrior toolset of sacrificing for damage. So maybe some sort of battle cry, some sort of more, some utility and whatnot. Not just a generic, we'll scale your defense up based on this. It's fine to have, but it seems as though Paladin and Dark Knight should be more of that role. Warrior should be more of like the overall buffing damage role. So those are my quick thoughts on it. Won't go into too much detail on the rest of the live letter stuff that was kind of said. I will link the general translations and the conclusions to the live letter in the description below. What I want to know is what are your thoughts as tank players. So are you happy that Warrior's getting buffed? It'll require a bit of relearning, but overall it's going to be a lot simpler. What do you feel about the Paladin nerfs? I feel they are justified and they need to be nerfed. And what are your thoughts on Dark Knight? I don't really touch Dark Knight much. Dark Knight players out there, what is this to you? Is being buffed and usability being buffed something you really like? I assume so. Other than that, not much news. I was hoping they would reveal the PvP armor. I know it's going to be a reskin from last season. But as someone who wasn't able to get top 100 last season, I'm pretty much guaranteed top 100 this season. So if the armor has, I'm wondering if they're going to change up some stuff. I know they said they changed up the color, but they haven't released any images yet. And in general, these changes is just, we'll go into that in another video in the future. But overall, tank changes, good stuff. Shame it takes a while. Let me know your thoughts, and I will see you next time.